Since it's Halloween, I thought I'd take a quick look at one of my favorite horror movies, The Bride of Frankenstein. And since it's a short notice, I'm just going to do it off the top of my head. So please forgive the lack of production on this one. The Bride of Frankenstein is one of those rare sequels that completely blows away the original. Between the acting, the sets, the direction, everything is an improvement, but the biggest improvement was the screenplay by William Hurlbut. The screenplay is what made the movie. It is probably the first actual dark horror comedy ever made. There's some humor put in nearly every scene, no matter how serious the subject matter might be, whether people are getting murdered or trying to resurrect people from the dead. The way it's presented with the dialogue is humorous all the way through. My favorite example of the humor in this movie is after he kills the parents of the girl that he killed in the first movie, he ends up sneaking behind Minnie. What also made this movie much better than the original is that the monster actually starts to develop a personality and can actually start to speak. A lot of people aren't fans of the Kenneth Branagh, Robert De Niro Frankenstein movie, even though it was much more faithful to the original book, the Mary Shelley book. The monster actually is pretty intelligent compared to the Universal version, which made him look pretty lumbering and pretty dumb. And this film, however, shows him as a real character and gives him real motivation. In this film, you almost start to feel sorry for the monster because, you know, he was pretty much, if you think about it, was just born yesterday. He doesn't know what's going on around him. He's like a giant baby, making mistakes and learning as he goes. He pretty much communicates in baby talk with the other characters, like, ooh, friend, good, fire, bad. After rewatching it a couple days ago, it's amazing how this movie really wasn't that controversial, or at least I never heard of it being controversial when it was released, even though it's touching on topics like, you know, resurrection and, you know, grave robbing and, murdering innocent people. Yet I never heard any big complaints. It was the 1930s and World War II was looming, so maybe there were bigger fish to fry and nobody was really complaining about media back then. But if something like this comes out today, it becomes controversial and people start complaining. I mean, the most shocking scene of the movie, in my opinion, was there's a scene where the Igor character has to go find a fresh heart. So he goes down to the village. He sneaks up on and kills a flower girl, and this is all off camera. They take out her heart and they're gonna put it in the bride, and it's punctuated with a joke.
Perfectly, just as in life. Oh, if only I can keep it going until it was a very fresh one.
It is kind of funny how every couple of years now there's always that discussion about, you know, violence in TV and violence in movies and how much is too much. And yet I watched this movie and there's, you know, that scene of the poor flower girl getting, you know, ripped apart, and, you know, nobody even remembers it. It's like, you know, even though it still happens off camera, that's one of the most horrifying scenes in a movie ever. Yet, enough time goes by, nobody even remembers it. If I had to say what the best scene was in the film, it would have to be the famous blind man scene. It's, you know, the first time you see it, it's actually really touching, but then the more you see it, the funnier it actually gets. Whether it's the old man's prayer and the sappy score and the monster crying. It is so over the top in its sincerity, you almost have to take it as a joke. So to close out this video, if you haven't seen Bride of Frankenstein, definitely see it. They made a few more after this, I think Son of Frankenstein, but they definitely drop off. I think Karloff stopped after the third one, so there's really no point in going after the first two. Many have said that, you know, Bride of Frankenstein is the best gothic horror movie ever made. I'll even throw in it's the best horror comedy ever made. There is so much dark humor and jabs at religion that you'd be amazed that it was made in 1935. It's so ahead of its time, and it's not surprising that Mel Brooks decided to make a full-on comedy about the subject matter, because this one definitely showed that it could be done, that you could take a humorous stance on the world of Frankenstein. So after all that, happy Halloween, and thanks for watching.